Good morning.
Good morning.
Raj, thank you so much. That song made my heart feel very happy. And that is very important because it has been a week. Right? Did anybody else feel that this week? Because I sure did. It was one of those times where it was like someone just sort of dropped a bomb on every plan, every project, every event, every expectation, all of it in the air, right? And so I found myself in a place of resistance, feeling a little rigid, until it kept happening and kept happening, until I realized I had zero control over the conditions that were creating this, right? So I found myself just in full surrender, on my knees, taking a deep breath. And because the universe works in the way that it works, I was again watching my yogic path series on the Gaia channel this morning. It's really good. If you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. And again, the same teacher from the last time. So this episode happened to be on Kundalini and Kriya Yoga. But the same teacher from last time, his name is Anand Mahatra, was talking about Paramahansa Yogananda, right? And how he had to, or felt he had to, his guru told him to, come to the West to bring yogic traditions and teachings, and how he had to adapt not only to change of culture, but how that information was presented. And so he said this: the hallmark of genius is adaptability, not rigidity. Rigidity is ignorance. The more aware you are, the more adaptable you are. The more we are open to the flow of grace and to that opportunity for peace within, to share then without. So let's take that into a time of prayer. Holy Heart of the universe, may we enter into this time and space with an open heart and an open mind. May we soften our edges of our thoughts, of our hearts, and of our bodies, to tap into the divine spirit, grace, existence, consciousness, and bliss that flow through us all. And so it is.
take a moment and answer these questions like this person did. The name optional, there's a heart there. So, there's a heart there. What do you want it to be in your life and for others? What do you want Soul Center to be in your life and for others? Love. How do you want it to feel? Love. How will you bless this space? Love. So what I'm thinking of is love, 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 dun, 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 you know, all that. Yep. Not my forte, but Beatles, love, 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 just kind of went like this. Yeah, so I think that's an old card too. Those are the old questions, but they're pretty much the same as the new questions. A little bit different. But take a moment. That's good. That's good. Well, sometimes I have no idea what in the world I'm going to talk about. And my coach, who is an Akashic healer, which the Akashic realm are these... The Akashic realm are these beings or this that are there just for me, for the other side, and they talk through her to me. And really what they want me to do is they want me to come here someday and not be prepared at all and just start talking. Well, today's not one of those days. Because I'm not quite ready, but it could be next week because they really want me to do that. Would you like that?
Yeah!
Okay. I guess maybe I needed that right there, but I do have some notes. I do have some notes today, and I guess that's what they were saying today. So if you were raised in the Catholic tradition, Christian tradition, even in Judaism or Islam, you would know that last week, Ash Wednesday, started this time of Lent. And in those Abrahamic tradition, there's always what is similar, not necessarily the season of Lent, which is in the Catholic and Orthodox traditions. The season of fasting, the season of fasting in order to become closer to God. And so these traditions are all linked in that way, in the ancient way of stopping or depriving yourself of food in order to make a greater connection to God. So, as you might imagine, it's not very popular because across a lot of other traditions, because who wants to do that? You know, who wants to do that? Nobody wants to really do that. It's not like Christmas or Easter Day that people want to participate in. So, no wonder it's not popular. And actually, what's happened, as what has happened with so many religious kind of holidays, it's been co-opted into our secular society. And so Lent is no different. If you failed on your New Year's resolutions, a lot of time Lent is the second chance to start them again. You know, say, I'm giving up some chocolate, no more sugar, sugar's out, or maybe you are deciding to go and implement a meditation practice. And these are all good, but they're all built around self-improvement, you know, what I can do for me. And what is lost is this connection to God, or connection to Spirit, or connection to whatever the greater thing name that you call it. Like, that's missing. You know, I just have a slimmer body and I feel better, and you know, I'm better when I don't eat chocolate or drink beer or whatever. But it's not, there's no connection. We've lost that connection to the divine as part of that practice. And I think that if the idea is, and it is in these traditions, is to do something that helps me focus on God, then I really need to decide, well, what do I think God is? Because if I'm going to focus on that, we should have some idea of what that is, right? Like if you're going to say, I'm going to take this season for what it is, and I'm going to focus on God. Well, what's that mean? What's that mean to you? And what does God mean to you? What is that you call that? You know, what it is for me, and what I hope Spiritual Soul Center is simply learning to live a spiritual life. And to learn to live a spiritual life, what I mean is to be aligned with this greater pulse of life in the universe, this greater love that there is, and to align myself and to always come from love. Like, that's what I think about. If I'm going to focus on that, like, I want to do that, because let's face it, I don't always get it right. And I could sure use some help sometimes, because how I act and what I portray outward is always not the perfect picture of love. You guys already got that down pat? Like, oh my gosh, maybe this message is just for me. I want to be guided by love, and I want to get that help. So I looked a little deeper into this idea of fasting, because I thought, maybe there's something else here that other people have missed, or something that would be good for me to understand. So I looked up the definition of the Hebrew word for fasting is called tzum, T-S-U-M, tzum. And the Hebrew, that word literally means to cover the mouth, to cover the mouth. And so the implication is that you should somehow not feed yourself, no food or drink from the outside. But me, sitting in my chair at home, you know how I am, if you've come here before, I'm thinking, but there could be something else. What about if covering the mouth is about not letting all that stuff spew out of the mouth? What about if covering the mouth has to do with that? Because a lot of gurus and teachers have talked about that, haven't they? A lot of people have talked about that. Your mothers and grandmothers talk about that. The stuff that comes out of your mouth and washing your mouth out with soap. Right? Because of what comes out, not what goes in. Here's what Jesus says about that. This is from the Message Bible. He says, Jesus called the crowd together again and he said, "Listen now, all of you, take this to heart. It's not what you swallow that pollutes your life. It's what you vomit. That's the real pollution." When he was back home after being with the crowd, his disciples said, "We don't get it. Put it into some plain language." And Jesus said, "Are you being willfully stupid?" It says that right here. "Don't you see that what you swallow can't contaminate you? It doesn't enter your heart but your stomach, and it works its way through the intestines and is flushed out." He said, it's what comes out of a person that pollutes. It's what comes out. Obscenities, lusts, thefts, murders, adulteries, greed, depravity, deceptive dealings, carousing, mean looks, slander, arrogance, foolishness. All of these are vomit from the heart. There is the source of your pollution. I'm like, well, this makes sense. If I want to strengthen my connection and focus to God, I don't need to worry about what I eat. Maybe I should be more concerned about what comes out of me. Because it's pretty clear, that's in that passage, that's what pollutes. That's what causes me a disconnect from the love that I am. Not what I put in. Because it goes to the stomach, not the heart. I thought, well, that's something. That's something. So what this is calling me to do, I think, is be quiet. Be quiet. That's my big 2 words for you for this. So, be quiet. And the second idea that a lot of Christians practice or focus on during this Lenten season is about the 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus spent in the desert praying and fasting. Well, the first thing I thought about, if anybody spends that much time in a desert, they're dead after 40 days. That's not happening. So maybe they're not talking about the reality of it. Maybe they're trying to paint a picture for us about what it means. Like, if I'm going to be quiet, maybe I need to separate myself from all of the hubbub of the world and sit in a place that is desolate. There's nothing around as far as the eye can see, and be quiet. Like, isn't that the way to connect to the divine? To close the mouth, to be in a place like a desert, as an idea, the desert as an idea, not I have to travel to Arizona, although I got my tribal Indian map out and I was like, I think I want to go to the desert. But to be in that place, even in your own home, in my own chair, to separate myself from that. Maybe that's what it's about. Maybe covering the mouth and entering the stillness is a way to connect to the divine. That's the way to focus on the God of me, the possibility, the love that is me. I'm like, That's making more sense. And why does this have to be a season? Like this can be maybe all the time, not just for, 7 weeks or 6 weeks out of the year. Okay. And why did Jesus go into the desert? According to the Bible, he went in to prepare for the test. He went in to prepare because Satan was going to tempt him. I always think, too, about those parts of the Bible. Who was there to write this stuff down? I don't know. Or is it something greater than that? It's the message there that someone's trying to say, this is what happens. Why wouldn't we use this idea of closing the mouth and separating ourselves so when hard stuff happens in life, we're ready? It's not a test. It's just being ready for what happens in life. Because life can throw you some curveballs, right? I mean, life is not hunky-dory all the time. What? Could this be a way of thinking about the fasting? Is to cover the mouth, to go into the desert, to prepare for my life. To prepare for my life. I found a quote in my Mala from the Heart book from Kabir that says this: I felt in need of a great pilgrimage, so I sat for 3 days and God came to me. That. Desert. Because we do want to be prepared. I want to be prepared, don't you? I want to be prepared for that thing. The Hebrew word for prepare is nasah. N-A-S-A-H. And the idea there is, of this kind of test is, you prove the quality of something by going through a trial. And a lot of times what it means today, people say, well, God doesn't give you any more than you can handle. Like there's God out there giving you something. What about if it's reversed? What about if it's reversed? What about if the universe is saying, no matter what happens, I want to prove to you that I will always have your back? What if that's the proof? The proof is you will always have what you need. That there is a love in you stronger than anything you can encounter in the back. And I want to show you that. Not I want to give you this test and give you this hardship, but I want to show you that in that, you have everything you need. Like, you can trust me. I'm the one that's going to be there, the universe says. You will never be abandoned. You will never be alone. And that's what I want to prove to you when you're in those places. What about if it's that? Not some God out there giving you some test. Giving you a hardship just to see how good you'll do. No, I don't believe that for a minute. The universe wants to say, put me to the test. Let me show you how strong love is in your life. I'm like, yeah, I want that. We cover our mouth. We go into the desert. But that's not where transformation happens either. That's the preparation for that. That's the preparation. That's the tilling the soil. That's the preparing the nursery. That's the decorating for the party. But it is not the party. That's the preparation we make so that when all hell does break loose, we don't lose it. That we have prepared ourselves to go to the place where that is the strength, that is the love, that is this pulse, and that love is, that is huge. That's what it is. What I'm saying it is. I think it's so that we can see God everywhere and in all things, all the time, no matter what happens. That we learn by practicing meditation and going into the stillness that we are not separate from anything else or anyone else. And it changes our entire life. It changes the way we act and react to every single thing that happens in our life. And we begin to see God in places that no one else does. We're like, look, and they're like, what in the world are you saying? And we look like the ones that are crazy, but we're not. But we're not. So, I want to read this story to you. Some of you probably saw it. This is a story about St. Dolly Parton. Do you know him? The legendary singer is speaking out after a recent drunken performance by Ellie King at the Grand Ole Opry that was meant to honor Dolly Parton. So here she has, have you read this? She has a singer show up who's there to honor her for her birthday, and she comes hammered. Okay? And Ellie King told the crowd she was hammered, and she forgot the lyrics to Parton's "Marry Me" during a tribute celebration for Pop Dolly's 78th birthday in Nashville. Bazinga! Here's what Parton told the newspaper. Ellie is a really great artist. She's a great girl, and she's been going through some hard things lately. She just had a little too much to drink. So let's just forgive that and forget it and move on, because she felt worse than anyone ever could. How'd that happen? I dare say that Dolly spent some time with her mouth closed in the stillness and in the desert. How many of us might have said that? I think maybe I could have maybe said nothing and thought that was good enough. But she went beyond that, way beyond that. She defended her. Ellie King told the crowd at that concert, "I don't know the lyrics to these things in this damn town. Don't tell Dolly because it's her birthday." I mean, she was mean. She just didn't forget the lyrics. She was mean. So this is the kind of thing we prepare for. Yes, sometimes it's the big diagnosis. Sometimes it's the big thing. Sometimes it's the, terrible, horrible tragedy. And sometimes it's just this. It's the person who we can look at and see the best in on their worst day. Yeah? That's what's possible. To see God always, no matter what the response is. To see God in that person who she could recognize was hurting, was having a hard time. Can we do the same thing? I think if we practice closing our mouths and going into the desert, we'll be ready for a test like this. Saint Dolly was. That's what I'm calling her, Saint Dolly, right? I mean, really. Here's another quote from Kabir from this book, and it goes like this, which I think is exactly what happened here. Look what happens to the scale when love holds it. It stops working. The scale stops working. That's what happened when love holds it. All this transformation happens in the heart. It does not happen in the stomach. Jesus was clear, and I think it's a great metaphor for our life. Like, all that stuff just gets washed away. But transformation happens in the heart. Healing happens in the heart. Wholeness and love happen from the heart. And the way to get in touch with the heart is through fasting, which is closing the mouth and going into the desert. That's what I've come up with. Hey, if you want to use the food pounds, fine. Modify your diet. That's not a focus on God. Or maybe you use it as a focus on God, and that's great. But when we were growing up as kids, it was just like, you're not eating chocolate during Lent, you can have it afterwards. And then you just started eating chocolate again. Did you transform? Did you change? Did it make a difference on your relationship with God? That's the question. Not, I spent 40 days and I didn't have any chocolate, I'm just waiting for that hour to pass so I can pop it in my mouth. That's where transformation happens in the heart. That's where God works. That's where it all happens. I want to read one more reading from this poetry book from St. John of the Cross, and it goes like this. I was sad one day and went for a walk, and I sat in a field. A rabbit noticed my condition and came near. It often does not take more than that to help at times, to just be close to creatures who are so full of knowing, so full of love, that they don't chat. They just gaze with their marvelous understanding. So let's take a few moments together this morning and sit with this. Sit with our mouth closed, with our mouth covered. To imagine ourselves, even though we sit elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder, that we take ourselves into that desert, separating ourselves from the world as it is, with the one intention to know God better, to know that, to allow that divine love that is the universal pulse that created us and breathed us, to know that we're never separated from it. To practice being right there with it. It really is the soul of us, the soul of what we already are. It's just a way of remembering that. So let's sit for a few moments in this stillness. I was sad one day and went for a walk. I sat in the field. A rabbit noticed my condition and came near. It often does not take more than that to help at times. To just be close to creatures who are so full of knowing, so full of love, that they don't chat. They just gaze with their marvelous understanding.
for life. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy. Amen. Till next time.